GM, everybody, DeFi defense lawyer coming at you again with another update. This one is interesting. It was announced that Tether plans to return to the United States with a regulatory compliant stablecoin under the Genius Act. You will recall that on Friday of last week, when President Trump signed the Genius Act, he acknowledged Paolo, the founder of Tether, who was in attendance for that signature ceremony. And it's my understanding, based on some reports I've seen, that Trump met with Paolo from Tether, and there was a conversation about bringing a USDT compliant stablecoin to the United States under the Genius Act. Since that Friday signing ceremony, Tether, through a post by Paolo, has confirmed that Tether is interested in returning and entering the US marketplace in a regulatory compliant way. This is going to require Tether to have to fall under the offshore stablecoin sections of the Genius Act. There's a 3-year window there to apply. So it looks like Tether has a multi-front plan for how they're going to enter the US stablecoin market via the Genius Act. One, they're going to make that application to be an offshore compliant stablecoin offering in the United States. That is obviously going to require them to have robust auditing in place. They're going to have to back their Tether tokens via that Genius Act application with one-to-one backed Treasury assets, which means that they cannot use other assets because they're prohibited under the Genius Act. And they also announced, interesting, and I'm very curious to learn more about this, they want to launch a new stablecoin in the United States, which is going to be an institutional bank-to-bank stablecoin. Kind of sounds like a little bit of a Ripple thing, so I'm curious to get more information on that. Now, what are the implications of this move? Well, Circle is the front runner in the United States because they have been, to a large degree, compliant with US KYC, AML, and auditing standards, even though they didn't really exist, because they had gone through proper state pathways, and they have backed their USDC with treasuries. So Circle just went public recently. We saw the success of their stock, has already entered the stablecoin market in the US in a profound way, and they appear to be the front runner in benefiting from the Genius Act because they've got a leg up on everybody because they've been so entrenched through their partnership with Coinbase in the US marketplace. Tether has had tremendous success globally. What Paolo has built with Tether is undeniably amazing. And when you go offshore, they are the go-to stablecoin for transactions. I had the opportunity to see Paolo speak at the Bitcoin 2025 conference in Vegas, and very impressed with him. It was a rare speaking appearance. And listening to his insights and his predictions for where the stablecoin market is going to go globally only make me more bullish on what's possible under the Genius Act. Bringing a US compliant stablecoin onshore for Tether is a no-brainer because they have a massive reserve. They are recognized globally. And the moment that they begin this entrance into the US marketplace, they stand to be, along with Circle, the dominant stablecoin alternative. Are they going to have a clear and simple path to do this? No. There's going to be, as I've previously discussed, a ton of stablecoins that are going to be launched. Banks are going to try to launch stablecoins. We've even seen private sector offerings. So there's going to be a lot of competition in the marketplace. This institutional stablecoin that Tether wants to launch is also fascinating to me, because they'll be directly competing with banks and their internally spun up stablecoins. So who's going to capture market? Obviously, when it comes to crypto natives, USDC and Tether have a tremendous head start on banks. I've previously talked about how banks are essentially effed if they don't catch up and wake up to what stablecoins are going to do to their current fee monopoly when it comes to moving customer money around. The wire fees, the check fees, the credit card vendor fees, the delays that come with all of this. This is all about to become a thing of the past once stablecoins are fully onboarded. So now the stablecoin super cycle that I've previously discussed, a stablecoin super cycle that I thought was going to be dominated by Circle and USDC, now appears to be a race to the finish line between USDT and USDC. So now that Tether is coming into the US marketplace and has the desire to want to comply with the Genius Act, they're going to have to get their house in order as far as their auditing and their transparency of what their reserves are. There have been issues in the past with staying in compliance with what the US expects from Tether. This will all have to be resolved if they're going to comply with the Genius Act, because the language of that statute clearly defines the auditing process, the reserve process. And I think Tether can obviously comply with it. They're just going to have to change their business model in order to enter the US. Why are they incentivized to do this? Well, like I previously discussed, when you have a Genius Act compliant stablecoin regime in the United States, what you're essentially doing is you are adding trillions to the US Treasury market. You are increasing the demand for US Treasuries because every stablecoin launched under the Genius Act has to be backed one-to-one to US Treasury equivalents. So this checks a box for Scott Bessent because he's got to sell treasuries to the world in order to keep the US dollar the dominant currency. So Tether sees an opportunity to accumulate more Treasury reserve assets, which is one of their big revenue generating models. They make their money based upon the yield that they make on the treasuries that they buy in order to back up their USDT token. Entering the US marketplace and offering institutional grade stablecoins to solve the ACH issue, the wire transfer issues, is going to open up the door to acquiring more treasuries, which is good for the US. It's going to build dollar dominance. It's good for the treasury market, and it's good for Tether. Tether's a massive behemoth of a stablecoin player in the sector. And now that they're coming into the US and seeking regulatory compliance under the Genius Act, something that I think is a no-brainer, and I have to commend Paolo for having the vision to do this, now we have a real contest here. Who is going to win the race to the first and largest Genius Act compliant stablecoin? Will it be USDC through their partnership with Coinbase, their collaboration with Coinbase? Will it be Tether and their massive global reach? Because remember, stablecoins offer an opportunity for consumers, for businesses to move money cheaper and faster, which helps their bottom line. It opens up opportunities for family offices to participate in international investment opportunities without having to worry about currency conversion, currency volatility, the delays in sending and receiving wires, so they can get in and out of deals faster with stablecoins. And USDT is recognized globally as being the leader when it comes to stablecoin transactions internationally. So this opens up now the world to the US stablecoin market. Hope you enjoyed this content. As always, give me a follow. If you're not following me on TikTok at the DeFi Defense Lawyer, you need to, because I'm putting out lots of information trying to educate the public, especially the non-crypto native public and banks, about what's coming with stablecoins. And I think people will benefit from this. So if this was of value to you, please give a share, please give a like, please give a follow, and stay tuned for more. And of course, have a great Thursday, everyone.